It's the start of the 2017 Renegade Bass Series, and for the 48 teams participating, the road to the Classic seems a little more daunting this year.
There's going to be some challenging bodies of water. You know, the fish might be a little hard to get.
As difficult as these waters are, they hold some prize-winning large and smallmouth bass that can land teams onto the winner's podium.
It's a nice mix. It definitely brings out your angling skills over the 4 tournaments.
It's going to be a challenge to do well in a lot of these tournaments. A lot of these guys know the body of the waters really well.
We fish to win every event. We're fishing for big fish all the time. We're not fishing for a 13-pound win.
That's what we're talking about.
4 tournaments being consistently one of the best teams in Canada, that's really hard to do.
That's what we're talking about.
Last year, the 21st edition of the Renegade Bass Classic took place on Dog, Cranberry, and Whitefish Lakes. After having fished in 4 qualifiers, the field of anglers would spend 2 days on these waters looking for big bites, with varying weather conditions adding to the challenge. By the time the teams hit the stage at the end of day 2, there was less than 2 pounds separating 6th and 1st place. But the event would come down to the top 2 from day 1. Lenny DeVos and Jeff Delage would find themselves in the hot seat after weighing in an 18.11 pound bag. In order to unseat them, Dave Western and Dwayne Clifton would need to weigh in 18.16 pounds.
13.98. There's your chance, folks, right there. Renegade Bass Classic Champions 2016.
And as the 2017 season begins, will their impressive skill and immense knowledge of the tournament waters help them to retain their championship title?
Just guys loading in behind me, getting ready for Qualifier 1 on the Renegade Bass Tour here at beautiful Newboro Lake. Weather looks great. There's going to be some fish caught today. I've talked to a bunch of the guys already. They're on fish. It's going to be a really interesting day for Qualifier number 1 here at Newboro.
Newboro, we've never been on it before, just pre-fish. We're kind of optimistic. The fish are kind of in a funk. They're in that post-spawn kind of, they haven't reached their summer ground yet, so it's going to be covering a lot of water.
You got to find the smallies. I think it's got to be a mixed bag that's going to win this. Unfortunate thing is finding those smallies in Newboro, Indian Clear is quite tough during the summer months. So I think it's going to be a couple teams, if they can really find the smallmouth, that are going to rise to the occasion.
Well, we were only on the water for, well, yesterday, and it rained all day, and it wasn't very good. So we're just hoping for the best today.
So we found fish of both species just in case. Weather's going to be a little bit different than when we were down, but hopefully not too bad.
It's tough to say that we got everything dialed in, but we won't know until we actually go throw the right bait at the right spot.
I found practice actually kind of tough. The first day I had a decent bag and saw some big fish, but I think they're all in a post-spawn kind of mode. Not all of them, but a lot of them. So I think for the most part, I'm going to be targeting kind of a little deeper fish that are out sulking.
We had a pretty good pre-fish and fairly optimistic that we can get a mixed bag, maybe smallmouth and largemouth, but pretty eager to get the season going.
The 2016 Classic runners-up, Dave Western and Dwayne Clifton, take up the number 5 position, with Ed Puttifat and Kevin Moberg starting in 8th. Scott Bullen and Doug Bowes will be looking for a good start here on Newboro, as will Don Jones and Matt Laframboise. Defending Classic champs Lenny DeVos and Jeff Delage are looking to continue their streak. Seasoned veterans Dave Chong and Doug Brownridge will be looking to put an end to that run this week. The newly formed team of Massey and Raisin have their game plan for today's event, and Charles Sim will be fishing solo this event with a Marshall in his boat. Rounding out the field of 48 are Joshua Donato and Pierre Desjardins.
Go for it.
So Newboro Lake is the name of where the tournament's held, but truly they have 5 lakes to play on. You've got Benson Lake, Mosquito Lake, Clear Lake, Indian Lake, and Newboro Lake itself. Newboro Lake, you know, there's the shallow ends where you've got slop and mats, whereas you're gonna get into Clear and Indian, deep water fisheries, smallmouth fisheries, offer a little bit of the shallow stuff, but those are where predominantly where you're gonna be the smallmouth guys. Mosquito, again, is kind of a milfoil lake, and Benson, same type of thing. A lot of wood in Benson where guys might be targeting that wood for largemouth.
As the teams race to their first spots, they'll have to determine whether or not their chosen patterns will get them on the right fish, considering the change in weather from pre-fish to tournament day.
So we've stopped with 2 teams here that have set up pretty close to the boat ramp right after blast off. So they're working a milfoil flat along this edge. The channel's just over to the left here. Flipping jigs. That's going to play a lot today in these milfoil beds. You're going to see a lot of teams offshore today. That's typically what's going to happen out on Newboro Lake. Our weeds here grow to about 12 to 15 feet of water. Keying on spots within the spot in that milfoil is going to be the key on catching a big fish today.
Many of the teams start the day on a shallow pattern, with their pre-fish having determined a lackluster deep bite.
Pre-fish was more eliminating water. I spent an entire 10 hours looking for smallmouth out on Newboro, and I had 0 success. I think I caught 1 little 12-incher, so pretty much eliminated that from our pattern.
All largemouth.
All largemouth, all the way.
We're not too keen on the smallmouth out here. I like the green ones that have the great big mouths. I like to be able to put that whole jig in their face. It's going to take somebody who really has patience to be able to sit there and really thoroughly fish an area and getting a lot of those kind of clone fish, and you just have to, you guys really weed through them. Not that you get bigger bites throughout the day doing this. Pretty exciting around 8 o'clock because we had our limit at about 5 minutes after hitting our 3rd spot. I figured I'd try for some smallmouth. I didn't catch any in practice, but I know there's big ones in here.
Terry Holder and Brad Warren are fishing deep, and they're finding some decent-sized fish.
All smallie bite. We got a limit now though, but I got a couple of good ones that seem promising. We went there this morning, but we'll go back and circle back later in the day. I'd say it would be hard pressed to be double digits, it feels like. And that's not Doc.
One thing that Newboro Lake and the system of Newboro Lake, because it's a chain of 5 lakes that these guys have the option to fish, they can fish largemouth or smallmouth. We've come across guys flipping the junk up shallow, and we found guys throwing top waters in 20 feet of water off shoals looking for smallmouth. They're both in play today. This tournament today could be won with either smallmouth or largemouth. If I had to bet, it's going to be a mixed bag.
The morning shallow bite was hot for some teams. It was so good, in fact, that some teams had a limit within the first hour. Fishing the milfoil paid off, but it seems as though the largemouth bite has now shifted.
We found our 2009 Classic champs, Steve Barnett and Jack Levert, just working some real thick stuff behind us. We asked them how they're doing. They've got 4 in the boat, 1 short of a limit, with 2 good fish.
We got them flipping at the edges, so we just circled ourselves back around. We found some in here for free fish. I think they're starting to actually move under the mats. There wasn't much underneath the mats last weekend.
We had a school going here. We didn't sting a lot of big fish in practice, but we kind of figured they'd be around. We got a couple of nice ones this morning.
but we could get a 4.
The key to this lake is going to be finding that kicker. 12 to 14 pounds is going to be your average weight today. It's the guys that find 1 or 2 of those upper range fish, 3, 4, even 5 pounders, big difference makers on Newboro Lake.
There was bait here yesterday. We thought the smallies would come back. But the conditions never change from pre-fish to tournament day. It's early yet. Lots of time. More like that. Hey, bud. Like that. Maybe they just moved out a little bit. I'll start. That'll do. 4 more of those to start. Yeah, that's 1.
So as the morning wears on here and the guys we visited with, the bite seems to be a bit of a struggle. I think the weather changed. We've had rain all week. Suddenly it's bluebird skies. The wind's now picking up. So what they practiced on is not what they're fishing today. Game plans are out the window. Lots of guys running around. They're on the move. The fish seem to be on the move. We'll see who catches up with them.
Massey and Raisin decided to make the necessary adjustments and head out a little deeper, and it pays off.
The day before I went out and had found a bunch of fish on dock, so that's what we went into, to go and do. We were on the swim bait pretty heavy the one day, and that seemed to be what we were going to key on, but during the regular tournament it was completely different. Turned out with all the rain though that the fish had actually moved back, and so they'd actually come off the shoreline and were a little bit deeper, and that's just what we focused on the rest of the day. That was our first tournament we ever fished together, and that was like our second time ever in the boat together, so it just works like when it gels like that right away, it's great. Just getting agreement on, and working on stuff together actually makes a big difference to how your day goes. And just sort of trying to figure out throughout the day how we can make things better, how we can put a bigger fish in the boat.
Yeah, baby! Yeah!
Fishing the mats is Travis Raisin's former Renegade partner Kevin Selleck. Him and his teammate John Horton seem to have found the fish as well, but they're still looking for some keepers.
Well, in Renegade, we've been a team for, this is the first day, our first tournament actually, but we fished together last year in another series, so we fished together for a year.
Our pre-fish wasn't solid at all, and we made a change early in the day, and it worked out really good for us. We were dunking some wash-ups, and we decided to go throw the rat, because we caught a couple on that yesterday. Probably caught 30 plus fish on the rat. Bite turned on for us late morning, and we got a bunch, not the size we wanted, but some decent fish.
Oh yeah, it's a lot of fun when you get to fish the rat out here. I mean, we only had a couple spots, so we really milked for one spot we were on. So we've caught up with 2016 Classic champs Lenny DeVos and Jeff Delage. They seem to have picked up right where they left off in the fall of last year. So if you watch them, they're making short pitches in the milfoil beds that they see out front of the boat, flipping what they call magic. Lenny just told us they've been using that jig since 1989. Probably a good idea to keep throwing it. They say they had a really good day. We'll see how it ends up for them.
Oh, definitely the bait of choice is flipping jig. We're pretty avid jig fishermen, and when it comes to the Rito system, we pretty much, that's all we'll throw. Although I did throw a jerk bait around a little bit today.
No rhyme, no reason what the fish are doing. They're just kind of wherever. I think they're just on their way back or into their summer path. Every big fish we got, there's thread on their tail. We're running gun in this lake.
It's a pretty good start to our day. Like by 8:30 or so, we had about 17 pounds in the boat.
And just started getting to a few fish here and there, and from there we just started running around and hitting some of our spots and hoping to call up.
Definitely a lot more fish than we expected today, for sure.
The wild card for today is if this sun stays out like it is right now, we all know that afternoon largemouth bite, shallow largemouth bite under the pads, under the mats, is really going to start to heat up. The guys that make that adjustment could be the guys that come in with the biggest bags at the end of this day.
It's a good one.
Everything's been largemouth so far, really.
Anglers come in and the stage is set up, ready to see where they'll place in Qualifier 1 of the Renegade Bass Series. As the anglers bag their fish, it becomes quite clear just what kind of day it's been.
Not very good. Not very good.
You have 5 fish, but they don't weigh much.
We got 2 good smallies and a largie in the last 45 or so that saved our day.
We missed a lot of fish just hitting short on jigs. I don't think we have much of a bag, that's for sure.
They're pretty long fish. Not much stomach to them because they're post spawn, but we had a good day.
We had a good day. We had plan B and went to plan C, and then we just went for it. They switched up. We were on swim baits last weekend, and then everything was on the wood today, so who knows how it goes.
Qualifier 1 of the 2017 Renegade Bass Series would prove to be a tough start for many of the teams. As the teams begin to hit the stage, the scales reveal just how tough the waters of Newboro were today.
725, 941.
You know, some days on the water you're the hammer, some days you're the nail. Today I was the thumb.
1101.
I figured the fish were in some kind of transition kind of state. I struggled on this lake, and I'm gonna have to pull my socks up for the next 3 tournaments to make sure we get into the Classic.
Full limits at the 10-pound range and under were common weights for the day, and 12-pound bags were considered a good haul.
A lot of our fish we found were gone, and then we just happened to go into the school smallies at the end of the day, so it kind of saved us.
For the teams whose bags weighed in the teens, it wasn't an easier day of fishing. They were just able to get some bigger fish to the boat.
It was really tough, actually. We really struggled, and then about 3:05, things started happening.
1548, and we'll check one for big fish. Nice smallmouth. That smallmouth looks like he came from the St. Lawrence. 409 smallmouth.
While the late afternoon bite helped raise the rankings of some teams, others struggled to connect with the giants they needed to thrust them into a top 10 position.
1445, all on the rod today?
Yeah, every fish. We got about 40 bass on the rod, just we couldn't find a good bite on it. Big fish.
No.
We got an okay bag. We had a chance on winning it. We lost 2 giants, 1 smallie, and a big largie just at the end.
By the time Team 31, Matt Massey and Travis Raisin hit the stage, any weight above 14 pounds would put them in a top 10 spot.
Yeah, we had a good day. We have no idea what we have, so.
1690, very nice.
Their good day on the water would include a big fish that would weigh in at 4.6 pounds.
460, new big fish, and new leader.
Team 5, Dave Western and Dwayne Clifton, would raise the bar beyond the rest of the field with a weight that seemed impossible to beat.
1690 to take the lead. 1837.
Today was just, we were blown away. Everywhere we went, all our patterns came together, and yeah, the fish were there to prove it.
482, which should be good for big fish. 2 more to go.
Robert Greenberg and Chris Lawson had an awesome day on the water, but even their impressive weight would fail to challenge the current leaders. With one team remaining, it would all come down to a repeat of the 2016 Classic finale. The fight for top spot would come down to whether or not Lenny DeVos and Jeff Delage had a good enough day to knock Team 5 from the top spot.
Our last team to weigh in, Lenny DeVos and Jeff Delage. These are the 2 teams that were right up at the top at Dog Lake last year. So we need 1837 for the win.
Nice.
Picking up right where they left off at the Classic last September.
1860 on the ticket.
Lenny and Jeff, 1860, your Newboro Lake champions.
With an impressive start to the 2017 season, Lenny DeVos and Jeff Delage continue their winning streak, sealing the deal on Newboro Lake with 18.60 pounds of largemouth bass. A close second was Dave Western and Dwayne Clifton, less than a quarter pound behind. Steve Barnett and Jack Levert gained some valuable Team of the Year points with an 8th place finish. JC Goulet and Maxime Gilbert had a strong showing with their first visit to Newboro. With 48 teams in the mix, the ultimate title of Team of the Year lies in the balance of 4 solid performances over the course of the season qualifiers. Every event can get you a little closer or put that title completely out of reach.
The turning point of the day was probably in that 7:30, quarter to 8 ballpark range as we put a couple pretty good fish in the box, which kind of gave us an idea what the fish were doing and how they were acting.
Today's pattern was basically what we do best. It's just pitch jigs all day, and we stayed with it, and it worked for us.
It definitely covered a lot of water was our key. I think today we weren't stuck in one general area like we usually would in this body of water.
Oh, it's a great start to the season. To win the first one out of the gates helps out, keeps you up there for Team of the Year race. Prize money doesn't hurt.
Yeah, financially it's a huge boost. You know, it's pretty much pays for our whole season now.